we're here tonight. The meeting will be from 5 to 6 with juror Nick Paciorek to discuss the jurying process for the exhibition Connect that's up currently at Art League Rhode Island, and it will be up until November 9th. So the opening, as you might all know, happened this past Saturday. It was a really wonderful event, and we have some photos to share with you. So we'll jump right in here. So the Art League Rhode Island, if you aren't that familiar, or even if you are and you'd like a little reminder, it offers a community of support and inspiration to all visual artists, empowering them with resources to realize their full creative potential. Our goal is for members' work to be recognized not only locally, but also on an international scale. So if you go to the website, artleagueri.org, you certainly will find this and a lot of other resources on there. All of the artwork that's in the show is, if you click on Marketplace and you drop down to e-commerce, the artwork from the show is on there. It's a place that people can purchase the work, which is really helpful, of course, to the artists. And it's a nice place to see each piece on its own that's in the exhibition. So please feel free to go to the website and view the work. So we were very lucky to have Nick Paciorek jury the show, and we're excited to hear about his process. I wanted to tell you a little bit about him. He's originally from Chicago, now based in Rhode Island. He received his BFA from Maryland Institute College of Art, MICA. His work has been featured in numerous exhibitions, including many one-person shows at Blue River Fine Art in Colorado, Jean Gallery, Massachusetts, Art Prov Gallery, Rhode Island, Foxhall Gallery in Washington, D.C., among many, many others. This is a very condensed version of his extensive resume. His paintings use broad strokes of brilliant color for their emotional impact. Large cities with active skylines, busy streets, and hard edges are one of his favorite subjects. He's influenced by the relationships of one building to another and the immediacy of light hitting a building in a certain way. He finds that a particular street may represent the entire mood of a city. And I particularly liked these parts and thinking about what he does in his work and how he might be looking at the artwork coming into the exhibition. And I think it's also really fascinating how there are different people that jury exhibitions, and artists are some of those people who also curate and jury shows. So it's nice to think about what he does in his work and how that might influence his view. So as we talk, it's mostly going to be Nick speaking. I'm just going to flow through some images, and you might hear him here or there ask me to go back or forth. But if, of course, speak about anything you'd like, and we'd love to hear about your process and some of the things that come to mind in giving artists advice and insight into what you do.
All right. I thank you very much, Sarah, and I thank everybody for showing up. Part of what is always said is showing up is part of the process. So with that being said, I'm doing something I said I was going to do when I was 5 years old. So that's I'm kind of living a dream. I was fortunate also that I grew up in Chicago, and I was exposed to more international aspects of work. I used to go to the Art Institute of Chicago on the Saturday programs, and then I also went to the Art Institute of Chicago for 2 years prior to transferring. So with that, at a very young age, I realized the parameters of art were far beyond the South Side of Chicago. They were, and or New England or everything. There were people that I was meeting and dealing with and having conversations with from all over the world. I think that's sometimes very important because we take and we understand different things from different people. Me myself, I love sculpture. I don't sculpt as much as I used to, but I tend to focus on painting. But we also ran our Prov gallery in Providence for like 20 years. And currently I run also the gallery at the Paciorek Golf House. So, and that evolved in the aspect of, doing shows in New York, Miami, Art Basel, and just being exposed to so much work and having a venue that artists could show their work, and we could, actually bring exhibitions to the Providence area or Rhode Island, and take those paintings, sculptures, crafts to other shows throughout the country. So that being said, I've seen a lot of artwork in my life, and I'm still always enthralled by the new ideas and thought processes going on out there. Just so many of you know, that I was fortunate that when I went to school in MICA, and I decided not to go to Yale grad school because I felt I didn't want to teach at a college level. Um, I had a gallery pick me up in Washington, D.C., and I had a one-man show before I graduated from college. Just as I was graduating, we had the show, and started selling out shows, which was kind of, unheard of. I was very fortunate. I had teachers tell me that that's not going to be done, shouldn't be done. And I think you just make the model happen for you. Everybody has their own model, and please follow your model just as your own vision of art. Um, Dealing with galleries, brokers, individual sales, it's all part of it. Just as, having, getting involved with international shows or regional shows are also another aspect of part of what you do. It's kind of scary because you're, putting yourself on the wall, and there's criticisms. There's all kinds of things. I was fortunate. I had an art dealer in DC, and I'm still friends with them. And they closed the gallery because of health reasons. Is that he taught me a lot about the business side, and that was pretty special, because I was young, and I had to learn. And one of the things he talked to me about was, keep pricing the same throughout the country. 5%, 10% is okay, but how your pricing structure works, because especially now with the internet, people know about different pricing, and also be true to your people that if there's a commission due, you make sure you do that. And sometimes people try to get around galleries, try to get around shows, and they see your work and ask them questions prior. A couple times a year, people try to get around my galleries and things, and after about 4 or 5 questions asking them, I pretty much know that they've seen the work in this particular gallery, this particular work. I kind of direct them back to that place, but sometimes they're adamant about purchasing through me. And what I do is I do call the gallery, and I cut them their commission check. It's the fair way of doing it. And I'm going to let you in on something that will come back and be a plus in the marketing your work fivefold. It's just, I found that out, years ago. And also, before COVID hit, I was in 25 galleries besides my own. So that being said, you have to service 25 galleries, which is a large task, shipping, moving things, stuff like that, besides, having the work. So with that being said, with that being said, that's part of the process of how you do this. So, did somebody want to ask a question? Because we're going to hold the questions until the end. So that's just a small of where I am, what I'm doing. I'm currently at the Pitcher Golf House, the old Children's Museum in Rhode Island. I knew I had to change the model because as we get older as artists, we have to ask ourselves where our collection's going to end up. With selling artwork for as long as I have, and there's throughout the world, there's buyers that still want to know who you are, where you're at. There's an inventory that I have. And also I want the work to keep going forward. So I've established something here at the Pitcher Golf House. I live here, my studio's here, my gallery's here. That it's going to be also an art Airbnb, a place where people could stay. And that's just my model, so that this way my art will keep continuing even after I'm not here. I'm not planning on anything right now, but it does happen. And just as copyrights are very important. Always retain your copyrights of any image you have, because dollar wise, those copyrights are very important, and they have shown me in the past that they're a great avenue. So that being said, a little bit about where I'm at. Ruth asked me to, to jury the show. We came up with a prospectus for the show, and that's something I like people to actually look at and pay attention when you do enter a national show or any show. Look at what the show is. This show wasn't an open call as a plein air event. This show, wasn't a impressionist show. This show talked about questions, in the world that we're living in now. So, please read them perspectives, because as a juror, that's something I look at. And so if somebody sent a piece that was, a very good impressionist landscape, that maybe didn't invoke some questions to me, that most likely got rejected from the show because it just didn't fit the criteria of the prospectus. So please read those criterias. Also, you could probably switch to the next slide, Sarah. So with that being said, I had a way of jurying the show, because obviously we opened it up to sculpture, printmaking, collage, I think furniture. I don't remember the exact criterias. So what I did was I asked Ruth, how many pieces can you hang? And she gave me a number. So what I did was I took all the entries and I did a percentage and put them in a category, so that this way paintings were being judged as a percentage, sculpture was being judged as a percentage, and the different disciplines, because I felt that that was a wiser, fairer way of doing it. So this way, each of those disciplines are represented percentage wise. Otherwise, we have 400 paintings, and but only 100 slots, but now I'm only choosing paintings. But so we did that as a percentage. That's what I did. And then I could jury those with each other. And then I did, when I did the final jurying for the honorable mentions, first place, second place, I could jury those individually. So that's part of my process. And how I work is, when I do jurying, I go through everything and then I start putting it into categories. And sometimes it's things that I've seen so many times, in Europe or something like that, that I just know that, okay, I know where that came from, the idea and things. I can't stress enough, even when I teach, and I teach workshops, because teaching is a lot of work. And I stress to students, be your individual self. And I can't say that enough and stress that enough, because that's what the world wants. If any of you were at the show, I did mention that, and that's still, I think, a very important aspect of the art world. Um, because it doesn't matter if it's a piece of ceramic, or if it's a painting, or it's a sculpture. As a juror, you have to ask yourself, what is the strength of that particular piece, in reference to the show. So some of the things that, words are also very interesting with pieces, and um, and they evoke interesting questions just in general, because there's a visual, there's a word. Jennifer Holzer, when I first seen her work of just comments, and that was her, that's her language, that's her art. And she invokes questions just constantly of it. Is her work better than Jackson Pollock's? I'm not gonna say yes or no, but at different times, they move us differently. I also, at the Pitcher Golf House or the galleries, are proud that I've ran, and some of you have came to shows at both places. Um, I really try to hang different works together, because I really believe there's days that the abstract pieces could be placed next to a photorealist or a landscape or a face. And that's what shows a collection. Each collector is a little different. Some collectors only collect smalls, some collectors only collect large paintings, some people only collect landscapes, some people only collect sculptures. Um, so don't feel that if a collector doesn't choose to purchase one of your pieces or anything like that, the piece is not worthy or anything. It's just sometimes what they're interested in. We used to sell some glass pieces, um, of an artist, and I remember the first time I delivered to the client, it was that's all they collected was glass. They didn't have a painting in their house, but the glass collection they had was amazing, amazing. So every collector is a little different, also. The other thing is, with that being said, I was very enthralled about, in terms of the interest of the differences, from photographs to sculptures in the show. And that's always interesting for me as a juror. Um, the the other thing is the space that is provided there. Great, great space to show artwork. And I think the Art League does a tremendous job of presenting the artwork. First of all, the location is a great location, and there it's just a really open space, and I commend them for what they're doing there at the Art League. So the work itself shows very 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 nice in there. So um I also excuse me, gave out a certain amount of awards, and I could slowly talk, give a quick synopsis of each of them and maybe why I chose them. So if we could go to maybe the first honorable mention. So the honorable mention in the other thing, just so many of you, I just let you know that I also purchase a good amount of work throughout the year. That's just part of my model that I've been able to uh, do. I tend to purchase younger people's work, because I always say somebody bought my work when I just got out of school. But with that being said, is for me, I don't want to meet the artist before I purchase the work. I want to be so enthralled with the work that it's about the work. Because and I did this purposely because I've had a bad day sometimes. Each and every one of us has had a bad day, or something in other parts of our life have happened. So when I purchase artwork, I don't focus on the name. I don't focus on it. I focus on the piece. What does that piece have for me, and what we're talking about in society, or what is that for me? And then I'll meet the artist. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, 99% of the time after I purchase the piece, I meet the artist. It's just always been a great rapport, but I just don't want any personal aspects of what they're maybe going through on that day to affect the fact that I love the piece so much. Um, with that being said, this particular piece really spoke to me in terms of, you know, the change, the silence of, and it's just almost demanding that you're looking at it. I could talk for literally hours on this piece, just as every piece that I chose. We could get into the eyes, how those eyes are, how those chains are coming out and grasping the face out of the mouth. And that's what I feel in there. The artist may feel something totally different. Um, I've given talks with after artwork I've purchased for 30 years. Remember, if when I purchase this piece, or when I have this piece on my wall or in my collection or for sale, is that I'm living with that. I'm walking by this piece. It's going to say more than what I just talked about for 365 days a year, and it's going to hold me. So that's one of the reasons I chose this piece. Next. Um, this piece also, Misty, the cutouts, it kind of is almost the world we were living in, a little you know, uh a whirlwind of what's going on. I thought it was a really interesting piece. And different vortexes and things. So I was really intrigued by this piece. Next. Also, this piece, it's interesting again, and you're going to notice I gave Sharon, this was an honorable mention. And again, I don't look at names, and then I gave her an award also. I thought this piece was, very interesting. I don't think the slide does this justice. And it's just more so because it's a little sculptural how it comes out, and how it moves. And it fit together very well. I think it works well as three pieces as opposed to just one piece. So next, the chairs. You know, they're the interesting part of them is that you want to sit on them, but you know better than to sit on them. And because you don't know and you almost don't know if one of those hands are going to grab you. And also the material that was chosen, um, the color, how different, the execution was pretty amazing on this. And you were always almost waiting for somebody to come out of that chair, in things that happen in chairs. So I really like this piece. Next. And this is another one of Sharon's pieces. And again, the slide doesn't do this justice as much as when you get close to this piece, there's all these little squares and all these worlds that you could get lost in. And it's almost like there's so many vignettes in there of landscapes to worlds that literally we can just sit there. I think of sometimes looking at artwork as I'm looking at a book, a novel. There's so much there. There's different chapters. There's different ways of looking at it. I made reference to Clint Greenberg stating that as artists or jurors or critics that we need to look hard at work. There's always so much more there than just some circles and lines and different colors. And you could really get lost in this piece. So next. So this was the first place winner. And when you get a chance, when I go to museums or when I go with people, I I actually talk, and if you ever take things out of a piece with your finger when you're looking at it, I was pretty enthralled with this piece, um, in reference to it demanded that you come see it, you look at it because of the mirror, and who do you see in the mirror but yourself? And so you're automatically interacting with this piece because of who you are as an individual, and things that are with you, what have been from your past. And I felt this piece was really a strong piece for the show and what we talked about, because it invoked so many questions of each and every one of us. And I think if this didn't have a mirror in the space, it wouldn't have worked as well. So I think the artist just really John thought this through, because it demanded, when you looked at it, you were looking at ourselves and what we're causing in the environment, what we're about, and how do we change that. And I think you're going to this piece will always change. Every year we get older, every year we see things, every year the environment changes and how it affects us. So I thought this was a really strong piece. So um I think we'll be able to open up questions. Um, and I think Sarah's going to moderate the questions, and feel free to ask me different questions. There's a juror and but also gallery dealer, artist, and been through a lot of highs and lows to anywhere from coming my studio burned to having nothing in my life and losing everything, and how you get back and how you get back on the horse. So go ahead, sir.
So thank you so much. It's great to hear everything that you're saying. I've learned a lot. I just wanted to quickly mention that if you want to ask a question, you can physically raise your hand. You don't have to choose the little button that hand raises, because I know that I can see you. And if there's a line, I can kind of call your name or what it says on your screen as your name, in case it's different. You are also welcome, more than welcome, to chat me either privately or the group. You can chat your question. So down on the lower level, there's a little icon that says chat, in case you're not familiar, and you can click on that and type your question in, and either I can read it or Nick can read it. So either way is fine. And I have questions, but I'll invite you guys to ask them first. And feel free to unmute, and I'll try to call your name. But yes, Todd, go ahead.
Hi, Nick. So you're just one juror, and every juror is unique. I'm curious, when you talked about earlier, you mentioned, does it raise questions? And just personally, did you approach what the questions were based on the theme, or just what the art did for you?
What the art did for me, and what questions it's going to raise to others. And that's why if you look at the piece the piece I chose, the first place piece, it will raise questions to every individual, because we're all individuals that walk up to the piece. Or if you're there with a husband and wife, or with the children or something, it demands that you're looking at yourself in the piece. So that's why I chose that particular piece.
Thanks.
So Emily Shedlock, and then Ruth, and then I'll read the chat question.
Hi, Nick. How are you? I wanted to ask some advice for emerging artists, people who are just kind of getting themselves footed in the scene, and kind of what your advice might be about where to find new shows, how to qualify them, how to maybe seek international shows, and kind of what those standards look like for somebody who's just starting out.
Okay, so one of the things that I do see is, take a region. So I tend to regionalize work, so that, and don't do multiple galleries in a market. So let's say if you're in a market in Chicago and you decide to show at that particular gallery, don't seek other galleries in Chicago. Let them work at that particular thing. Now, some people would say, oh, a lot of galleries work on 50% ratio. Some in New York are working at 60, different things to model. Designers work at a certain percentage too. Now, some people say, well, that's crazy. I'm not gonna give that percentage to the gallery. So I want every one of you to just do some simple math. At 25 galleries, they have a staff of, let's say, 3 people. That's 75 people around the country that is marketing your work or talking about your work. I don't know if each and every one of you have a staff of 75. That's a staff of 75. So utilize that group, because they're going to be talking to designers. They're going to be talking to brokers. They're going to be talking to different people about your work. They're going to be sitting at dinner and talking about you. So you have to you say that commission that's dealing with that gallery, is part of it is your marketing, and they're talking about you. Because that's the one thing, and just be fair with them. because after those 3 questions that you ask, somebody that will call you, will market to, to you direct, and you find out that they seen this particular painting at this particular gallery, but they want you to pull it because they're offering you less. Don't cheapen your work. Don't overprice your work. Remember, it's this market is when somebody sees something for $1,000 in LA, and all of a sudden you'll sell the same thing for 500. That just takes the value of what you do or your market and just change it. Alice Neal told me something when I was very young that it was probably the best advice that was given to me. And Alice Neal said, Nick, the first time you sell something, it's all a little different. And I sat there as a young art student and literally argued with her and had a conversation with her. And she said, yes, it's different because now you're putting a dollar value on something you love and is very close to you. And that being said, you have to realize it's a little different because now there's a dollar value placed upon it. And that could be scary. And one of the things, advices I would give, just as that was given to me, was don't raise your prices so fast and have to go backwards. I'm in international shows a lot, and this is what's said to me through dealers. They have the look, they have everything. I could sell that work for twice as much, and they're gung ho. They're literally they're giving you the line of the lines. Twice as much as what you're able to sell the work for. I've learned one thing. And how many are you going to buy today? Then the silence usually happens. And there's a reason for that silence, is because talk is cheap. You've established markets that are maybe 5 markets, maybe 3 dealers that you are starting to sell work with. And now when somebody says they could double the cost of that, you have to either figure out a way to double the cost in all those other galleries, or you eliminate those 3 galleries and only deal with that. So that's very that's part of it. One of the things that I believe is, and I do this, is I will purchase some work up front from artists. And I know people say that doesn't happen. Well, guess what? It does. And what it does is now I have skin in the game. And that's something that I was taught this from a dealer in California. She'll only buy pieces outright. And I asked her one day, I said, why is that? She said, well, I believe in the work. I'm spending marketing money. I'm spending shipping money. She said, now I have the piece. I don't have to share it with somebody that you may pull it from the gallery in 90 days, because things don't always sell in 90 days. So I thought that was a very interesting market, but she does ask for another 10% discount. I will give it to her, but because she made me understand that is a pretty wise way of doing business, because now she never has to spend all the time, money marketing this particular piece. It doesn't sell. Nick Paciorek takes it back from her. Wow. Now she just, all that marketing money that somebody may have picked up a card from 2 years ago is gone. She has that marketing money that keeps working. So those are a couple things in terms of advice. And if there's more, let me know.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Ruth, and then I have a question to read.
Nick, I have 2 questions. One is, how do you see the Rhode Island market, art community and the market versus Boston, New England, and then versus New York? And then the other question that you can kind of weave, you could answer the first question both as an artist and as a gallerist, and then use this second question is about your brand as an artist and your brand as a gallery. I know you do a lot of community engagement, and so you're supporting young, up and coming artists. And so I just want you to talk a little bit about what value you place on those things in your brand.
All right, so the Rhode Island market, we'll talk about the Rhode Island market. What I have found is most of my clients Rhode Island has an interesting aspect because we have Brown, RISD, more international people coming here throughout. The real estate market is also changing Rhode Island because people are coming from different parts of the country seeking what we have. My family from Chicago cannot believe what we have here. So, they're able to go to the beach, the mountains, go to the city, have cultural aspects and not as massive as other parts of the world. So as an everyday lifestyle, they really like that. And I think that's a driving force that's going to happen in Rhode Island. And I see it daily. And that happens here. That's a big plus. I also believe in, people told me years ago, oh, you need to go to New York, you need to do this, you need to do that. Well, I can market in New York as much as I want, and I don't have to live there. I'm only a couple hours away. I mean, if I want to go to openings and things like that, talk to dealers, I could do that. And so geographically for me, it's just been an ideal location. Even with shipping and things like that, and what I could afford with my space. I was in a scenario where I had a fire years ago, a long time ago, and I lost everything in my life. And I said to myself, okay, how do I, keep going forward as an artist? And I chose to purchase my studio and my space. And, trust me. But that was a model that really helped in terms of stability. I didn't have to worry about the landlord kicking me out next week, or, my rent being raised so drastically. So I had some stability with that. With that being said, the brand, and this is almost like a corporate conversation, but guess what? You're a brand. Each and every one of you, it's who you are. You're a brand. And I remember there was an artist, Brito, he's still there. I seen in Miami before Miami was Miami. This was years ago, and he bought the Goldblatt store on Lincoln Road before Lincoln Road was this big place. I walked into it. I told my wife, I said, this guy has a brand that's amazing, and he has some money behind him and a thought process of how he markets his brand. And I think many of the commercial success of Brito, in terms of international and the Latin community and things like that. But he created a brand, for himself. I was also, some of you may, I'm not particular a fan of him. There's an artist named Thomas Kincaid. He created a brand that was like crazy in terms of selling visual rights and royalties. Did he lose his vision. Yes, I think he did because of the aspect of the business part, but you know, that was his choice. But each and every one of us are a brand. My brand here at the Pitcher Golf House, I changed how I felt where my collection was going to end up and how I was going to sell artwork in the community and also the experience. So it's a little bit different than you know, the gallery model from the 80s, you know, the Soho model that sometimes people are still wishing that was around. Is there anything else, Ruth? Did I answer everything?
Just, if you could quickly just describe, you have those containers behind your space and maybe what you do with kids. I just think that that would be really nice for people to hear how you give back and maybe what you connect to the community and what you're doing for young artists and how that really supports your brand too. And you don't have to spend a lot of time on that, but I was really pleasantly surprised going to your property and seeing those spaces and listening to you talk about your support of young and really it's high school kids, maybe younger, I'm not sure, but I think it's very admirable.
So I have a on the property at the Pitcher Golf House. I have a can everybody hear me? Okay. Um, I have a shipping container project that I brought shipping containers here to the property and, you know, created a courtyard. And there are actually studios that, you know, I show young artists work. I show, you know, different artists work, um, things that maybe somebody wouldn't show in a commercial gallery all the time. But I want people to be able to dream and have a space that it's like you know, to do things with, because I think it's important. I mean, I was very fortunate throughout my life. I've had a studio since I was 11 years old. I had a place that I could mess up, and you know, my parents just said, don't blow up the house, you know, with that was like a criteria. And so I had a space, and I think any space that's comfortable, interesting, that individuals could use, and also change. So these shipping containers, um, the space can change. You know, we're doing things with music in them. Now we could have people that have dinners there with the artwork. The containers we use for teaching so that each individual can have their own individual studio. You know, sometimes people just need a different space, or they need four people to talk with, and throw ideas around. And you know, I don't want this space, the shipping container space, to be this necessarily clean, sterile environment. You know, I want people to dream in them. Um, you know, I've always had a space that I could dream in. And I want others to do that. And showing young artists work is always really special to me, because, as I say, I came out of the Maryland Institute and I had a gallery and people started buying my work. And and I still buy young artists' work because there's some great stuff out there. And, you know, these younger people or even older people, we need encouragement, and purchasing work sometimes isn't encouragement. You know, we could all say, oh, we love it, but you know, when everything's in the negative numbers, dollars and cents wise, you know, sometimes artists, it's hard. And you know, I believe people should support younger artists or artists.
Nick, I have one more question and then we'll see if we have any more. We'll probably wrap it up in a few minutes, but the question was in the chat from Stella Hendricks. It says, have you seen a shift in the types of work being produced by emerging or late stage artists compared to previous years of being a juror?
I would say yes. And one of the things I see as a trend during, and I've tracked literally presidential election years and things like that, is that work that is being purchased tends to be more conservative. It doesn't matter during presidential years of elections. And I've literally tracked this, more conservative pieces. I'm seeing a little bit more of conservative thought processes happening. And I think part of that may be there may be not as many younger artists coming out as there was in the past. It's not always as romantic as people think. So I think it's a vision. Also, parents are saying, do I send my child to art school unless they're going to be a graphic designer and things like that? And I was told many of these things at that time. I was just fortunate. I supported myself through school. So my parents kind of didn't have a choice, but I'm seeing a little bit more conservative, thought process as opposed to really pushing the envelope, so to speak. In my work, trust me, I'm doing different things that even now that I don't put online. I don't put on things because people start picking up on it, and then all of a sudden they're taking this information. So that's another thing we got to be a little careful of that aspect.
Thank you. Are there any other questions before we're getting close to the end here, but I wanted to just see if anyone has any more. Okay.
All right. I thank you all very much for participating in the show. Also questions and listen to things that I have to say about the years of experience and highs and lows that I have in the business.
Thank you so much, Nick. And thanks everyone who joined and asked questions.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.